Welcome back to the Viking Update Show with Tim Yotter and Jim Suhan. This is our football show on talknorth.com. Check out all the shows there. Download for our sake, also download for your sake. Better listening experience, no loss of listenership with spotty Wi-Fi or anything else. And check out the rest of the shows across the network, including kind of a new tweak on one show. We had been doing the Shaver and Suhan show as kind of a general talk show, myself and Ryan Shaver. Jordan Taylor is going to take over and work with Ryan Shaver. They've been friends for years. Jordan, of course, great Minneapolis basketball player, great Wisconsin basketball player who's back from playing basketball overseas. He adds a lot to the network, so please check out that show as well as all the others. Live shows coming up tonight, July 3rd, right?
Yes,
July 3rd?
July 3rd.
Tonight, July 3rd, the Russo Suhan Show, 5:30 at Delano's Pizza, downtown Minneapolis on 4th Street. And July 17th, 6 o'clock, the Cheryl Reeve Show at Free House. Let's get to some interesting stuff here. Also, thank you to Twill in the Dining Galleria and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, for sponsoring this program. So they signed Danielle Hunter. I think we all thought that was going to happen. And for me, the interesting aspect of this is not that they signed Danielle Hunter, because I did expect that. It's now you got Stephon Diggs, Anthony Barr, up for contracts, play completely different positions, different sides of the ball, different levels of accomplishment, different investments in terms of what they had to give them to get them out of the draft. And I wrote a column the other day about the fact that to me it's a tough decision. I think I would lean slightly toward Barr if they can't sign both. What do you think?
I read the column and I thought it was really well laid out, all the pros and cons of dealing with each of them. With Barr, and, I also read some of the reader comments, which we can get to, and some of them were really well thought out, reasoned, rational comments after your column. I do agree with you. One of the things with Barr is you do have to wonder what sort of effort level he's going to give after he gets this big contract. Now, it's been about a year since Zimmer has made those comments about Barr sometimes has a tendency to coast. That was the 2016 season, not last year. And I thought that Barr did play better last year. But, the fact that one of the things that kind of concerns me a bit with Barr is he said once he returned to OTAs, remember, he was not at the first week of OTAs because, well, we didn't know for sure at the time, but once he returned, he said, I was getting an insurance policy set in place, and I thought I was close to getting a contract done. Well, I asked him about that after he returned to OTAs, and his response was, kind of led me to believe that he was starting to get a little bit frustrated with the contract process. So I don't know if they are any closer to signing Barr than they were, say, in April. Right now he's on the 5th-year option. I think it's $12.3 million for this 1-year deal. And my guess is he probably wants at least that, maybe a little bit more, over the average of, say, a 4 or 5-year contract. And, the difficult part in determining his value is he's playing in a 4-3 defense, and therefore he's not getting the amount of sacks that a guy like Von Miller is going to get in a 3-4 defense. And you wonder, on both sides, is it worth it for the Vikings to pay him that much? And in Barr's case, maybe he would be better off in a 3-4 defense. I mean, when they drafted him, it was a shock to a lot of people because all of the analysis said best fits a 3-4 defense. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use him as a pass rusher as Mike Zimmer has, but he's not generating the amount of sacks that a 3-4 outside linebacker who's regularly rushing the passer is going to get. So I think it's a very difficult negotiation and a risky one on both sides. If Barr takes a little less than he might get as a 3-4 team would offer, he's doing that basically because he likes where he's at. If the Vikings pay up toward that sort of a salary of $15 million a year man, that's a big risk too for a 4-3 outside linebacker. So I think it's a a fascinating negotiation and has a bit of risk on a lot of different levels.
Absolutely. And of course, the premise of my column was if they're only going to sign one and they end up being the same price, and that might be a false premise. One of them might end up being willing to do a more team-friendly deal than the other, and that could decide it.
Yeah, I don't really get the sense that either of them are willing to take a quote-unquote team-friendly deal. I think they each have a number in mind of what they're worth from their agents and the research that their agents have done, and it's going to be expensive for either one of them. I think Barr is going to have to get 12 or more a year. Diggs, the impression I've gotten and basically been told is the Vikings have offered they offered all four. If you go back to Kendricks and Hunter, they offered all four of them contracts, and it was kind of like, which one is going to take it? Well, Kendricks was the first. Hunter now has taken his, and Diggs. He's an interesting case because he hasn't reached 1,000 yards a season yet, but I think most people would say he's got the real potential to do that.
Yeah.
So I can't really fault the Vikings if they want to go into this season and just, basically not up their offers to these guys and see which one is playing better. I mean, Barr playing under the fifth-year option and Diggs playing with, a quarterback that, is at least as good as Sam Bradford was probably,
Probably better.
Can offer a little bit more, but I also think it's going to be a little bit more of a diversified offense. I mean, you have Dalvin Cook returning, so there may not be as many passes going out, or there may be more swing passes going out to Cook. Kirk Cousins and John DeFilippo, the offensive coordinator, what they have done with tight ends in the past means there may not be as many passes throwing Diggs and Thielen's way as there have been in the past. So all of this is kind of areas where we don't know exactly how things are going to play out. And so I don't think it's the worst idea for the Vikings to go into the season and say, look, well, if we get to, say, September 5th and things haven't changed with the negotiations in either of these two, let's just see how things play out. And they can go back to a tactic that they had a few years ago, which was, we're going to sign guys maybe in early December to extensions after we know what they've done in the offense or in the defense and figure it out there. At least we get them done before the end of the season when they reach free agency, and the prices will probably go up.
Probably, yes. We do want to thank Scott Dayton and Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com, Twill on Instagram. I'm wearing my Johnny O hat today. I wear my Johnny O golf shirt all the time. I bought some stuff by Peter Millar there. Just this cool, stretchy, I guess, I don't know if it's moisture wicking or just flexible athletic type shirts. You can buy shirts that look like nice dress shirts, but they have that kind of athletic built-in thing to them. And the great thing, too, is when you go in there, not only will you deal with great service and very relaxed service, it's a good place to buy gifts because you can find stuff there that will surprise you. You can find some hand-stitched belts from Vietnam. You can find a garment bag that rolls up into a duffel bag. You can find stuff for the golfer. You can find, of course, high-end clothes. It's really a full, relaxed shopping experience. And right now, of course, they have a lot of summer stuff, a lot of shorts, a lot of golf shirts up toward the front of the store. So check it out in the Edina Galleria.
Hi, I'm Stacy Suhan. I love Twill, Scott Dayton's shop in the Edina Galleria. Twill takes the stress out of shopping by offering updated traditional fashion. I know that if Jim goes in there shopping alone, I will like what he buys, whether it's pajamas, flannel shirts, or suits. I plan to recommend Twill to my daughter when she has to buy wedding party gifts and attire. Twill in the Edina Galleria will bring your fashion game to a championship level.
Did anything surprise you about the way the Hunter deal got done, that it got done, or what the deal itself was?
The deal itself didn't really surprise me. The numbers, I think, were pretty in line with where they should be. The Vikings have been really good in the past 3 or 4 years about giving guys who are just getting into their prime deals that say, they are in their prime already, which means you might think they overpaid based on past production, but their anticipated production in the future is what they're paying for. And they've all the players that they've signed to these extensions in recent years have all lived up to their billing. I mean, you look at Everson Griffin has been very good. Harrison Smith, really good. Xavier Rhodes, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. So all of them, when they've gotten their extensions that, if you just say, hey, what they did last year, let's look at comparable contracts of guys that performed at that level and pay them that. The Vikings have said, we think you're going to be better next year and we're going to pay you to that level. And it's paid off because, the salary cap continues to go up. I think it's, 6-8 years in a row that it's gone up by $10 million or more. And so they keep looking at that. So they've done a really good job about that. The one thing that surprised me a little bit was the timing of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, first of all, Rob Brzezinski, their contract guy, is down in Costa Rica when this happened, when it got finalized. Spielman was around. So usually you don't see a lot of that movement right in this couple of weeks surrounding the 4th of July. So that surprised me a bit. I thought it would be closer to training camp before one of those three guys got done. Other than that, I think, I think everything kind of lined up with about where people expected.
And what's the salary cap situation now?
Well, we don't know exactly how much Hunter is going to count against this year's. What they've done recently is when they've given extensions to guys, they basically have said, we're keeping what you got coming this year, and the extension will take place, after. So I don't know how much of the signing bonus they're going to push into this year's salary cap. We still have to see that. Right now, without knowing anything about Hunters, they're at $17 million under the cap. They also have Mike Hughes to sign. So that's probably about $3 million there. So, say they throw $3 or $4 million from Hunter signing bonus. Now you've got $10 million to work with. Does that go to Stephon Diggs? Or does it go to Anthony Barr? And if they redo Barr, that may be a different situation since he is in his 5th year deal right now. They may look to lower this year's cap with Barr and give him the extension that may average about what he's getting. And if they do that, that could actually allow them to sign Diggs as well. So there is the possibility that they could sign both of those guys to extensions, before the season starts. I tend to think it probably won't happen that way. Maybe one or the other, and then just see what the other one does this year.
I want to thank Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, a State Farm agent who can work with you wherever you live. I've told you about the fact that we use their app all the time, that their office is very responsive. Tony himself is very responsive. Tony's been advertising on the network for a long time now with multiple shows. He handles my insurance, handles Michael Russo's insurance, and we'll probably be doing some events with Tony sometime here in the near future. We'll get you more details on that as we firm things up for an upcoming Saturday where Tony's putting on kind of a fun event. So check out Tony, Hoaglund. I almost messed that up. Hoaglund.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been #1 in car insurance since World War II and #1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
And if you'd like to advertise with this show, I think we're going to have a pretty full advertising docket by the fall. You might want to get in now. You can email me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. We do appreciate all of our sponsors, all of our listeners. Percy Harvin opened up, which is interesting because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's prone to opening up.
Yeah, there were one or two occasions during his time in Minnesota where I felt like he did open up on some one-on-one situations in the locker room. And I found it interesting because there were other times where, especially in a bigger group situation where